Last time. Third time's a charm with technology. So thank you for being patient. I'm Tom Murphy along with Ben Mendel. This is a Trinidad candidate forum for people that are watching this. They don't understand we've started this twice, but with technology issues we had to start all over. So we're going to do that, and we're going to get started with the mayoral candidates. And Thomasina, you're up. So Thomasina, the question number one, why are you running for city council and what inspired you to run for city council?
Well, Trinidad needs to take a step forward, and I am the leader that's not afraid to take that step forward. I was basically coaxed to move down here, back here, by what I would call developers of the area, and then I was quickly basically done wrong. They took some stuff from me and went about their day. There's a basic depravity in our community that you'll hear about when I get to question 6 that I'm going to address if I'm mayor of this town. I've been gone 40 years, and it literally is like tomorrow, 40 years ago. So what I'd like to do is make it be next week, maybe sometime in the future.
Question number 2, what makes you feel you're the best candidate for council? What is your most valuable experience you are bringing to the table, and how will this experience benefit the city?
My most valuable experience is that I'm a fighter. I've been a victim my entire life, and I'm a fighter. I'm going to fight for all residents of Trinidad, not just myself. And I'm not running to rub elbows and make friends with past, present, and future politicians. I'm running for the people of Trinidad.
How will you balance the needs of all constituents, including longtime residents, transplants, working class adults, families, ranchers, farmers, youth, and etc.?
By bringing back small town values to Trinidad. We used to be a town that had a lot of events here, a lot of community events. We got along with each other, and I would like to bring that back. I believe we need pride in ownership back to Trinidad, and pride in Trinidad, and just pride in general.
Question number 4, how will you deal with inter-council conflicts, council-citizen conflicts? What does conflict resolution look like to you?
By reminding them that they were voted by the people and they're supposed to be working for the people. So their personal issues and political issues with each other have no importance when they're in City Hall. They're there to work for the people that voted them in. And so I would say to resolve that would be to go in a room and argue, fight, yell, scream, and then at the end come to a resolution and get something done for the people.
Okay, and what does government transparency mean to you?
Transparency to me means that people can get any information they want from the town that they're living in. I found out recently that some people had to go as far as filing a DORA request to get information that was going on here in our city. And I believe that a resident of our city should be able to go to City Hall and get any information that they want at any time. They should be able to find out what's going on in our meetings at any time.
Okay. What are your top 3 project priorities? Capital improvements, programming, adjusting things at City Hall, etc.
People back to Trinidad is the first thing on my platform. I have a lot of people saying that I'm going to try to change Trinidad, and I'm just curious what Trinidad that they're trying to preserve, because the 70s and 80s one that I grew up in was really exciting and fun, and I would literally fight with guns and knives to get that one back. So I would just like us all to decide collectively which Trinidad we want to keep and then work on that one. Then my second thing is I've been getting harassed in this town by a child molester from my childhood, And Joe Biden passed a law on January 27th that allows us to sue these people civilly without any statute of limitations. And I'm hoping that we could come up with a law here in the city limits of Trinidad that will address this issue for all, because as I went out and started campaigning, I found out that we have a lot of victims in our community. At first, I thought it was a personal issue, and then I found out that it was a community issue. The other thing on my platform that's really big to me is earthquake-proofing our buildings. I know that's something some people laugh about, but it's actually starting to get national attention, and then they're realizing that a lot of towns across our country that weren't built for earthquakes are now having issues because of fracking with earthquakes. So that is definitely something that's on my agenda.
Anything else on that? Okay. Number 7, how do you see City Council helping to secure funding for the city to address its infrastructure needs, programming needs, special project needs, etc.?
Well, by not saying no. I've seen a lot of no going on here. We have developers that come in and they want to build houses. We have businesses that come in and want to build businesses, and we constantly say no. I was just recently at a city council meeting and found out that Trinidad could have up to $150 million in infrastructure grant money that's specifically designed for tourism, and we're trying to call ourselves a tourism city, so I think saying no to tourism dollars is a big mistake right now. So that's what I'd like to do, is get money to Trinidad and do stuff with it here in Trinidad.
Okay. Number 8, what do you see as the future of Trinidad's economy, and what steps would you take to move the city towards that goal during your first 4 years in council?
Well, going back also to question 7, it's just once again, we have to start allowing businesses here. We also have a problem with older businesses not wanting newer businesses to do well. We have a business right now that's being kind of railroaded out of town because we're going to put another restaurant in there. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to end. We need to work together and have businesses thrive and survive, not keep moving people around so that certain people could do well and other people can't.
I'm going to adjust this question. It says, what is your overall vision for Trinidad for the next 4 years? But really, the mayoral position is 2 years at a time. So what is your vision for the next 2 years?
Well, the city passed a charter 30 years ago. And that charter is supposed to work for the people, and it's supposed to be run by the people. But that charter has been changed and manipulated so much over the last 30 years that it's not being run by the people of Trinidad. So what I'd like to do is get that conversation back to the people of Trinidad and give the power of the charter back to the people of Trinidad.
Okay, and the last question, what projects/accomplishments of this current council do you see as being the biggest benefits to the city's development?
Well, their accomplishments aren't actually a benefit to the city's development. Their accomplishments right now are to let certain people do well and let others not do well, to block certain people from doing well while letting other people do well. So I'd like to see them not accomplish that in the future. I'd like to see the accomplishments of our city council be that all people in Trinidad, their business matters. What they're doing here matters, and what they want to do here matters, not just today, but in the future. And we all have to work together to make that happen.
Thomasina, you now have 4 minutes and 20-some seconds of free time since we've gone through that. So as long as you adhere to the rules that we stated before we started, it's your time.
Okay, what I'd like to say in this time is that a couple of things came to my attention yesterday. We have a business in our town, and I'm not going to mention their name, that is basically harassing transgender people. And in the Trinidad community, that is literally unacceptable to me because transgenderism pretty much was developed here in Trinidad. This business was actually helped by our current mayor to keep a large corporation from coming here and opening. And I actually was happy when I heard about that because that large corporation has got a lot of problems with homophobic problems and bigotry. And being a homosexual myself, I wasn't a fan of that company. But when I find out that our current mayor is protecting a business here from allowing that larger company to come here when we have the same bigotry going on right here with our business, And I would have rather had that larger company here because that would have the economy of that would be so much better for Trinidad, for all the people around Trinidad that are now having to make trips to Pueblo to go get their supplies and stuff. We might as well have just taken that company if our local businesses are also being bigots to transgender people. And that's like a huge problem. Not the only person in our community that's come up to me. I've had another transgender child that's like 12 years old that is having issues being picked on in our community. And that's something I cannot accept because Dr. Byberg was my doctor that delivered me into this world. And when I was 12 years old, he asked me if I wanted to stay a boy. And I told him I did. So anybody messing with transgender people in Trinidad, I think is a huge, huge problem. We need to pass legislation to deal with that. That's it.
2.5 minutes if you want to use it.
I would just like to add that, I want us all to come together as a community. I know it's not important in the mayoral race of what party you're in, but I'm unaffiliated and I would like us to get back to America. I would like us to be an American city and not have these labels on everything and have everybody fighting and bickering. And that's the only way we're going to get back to small town values here is by getting along and having those values. And with that, that's basically all I can say.
Thank you. And politically, Karen Graver. Yes, yeah. You got to pop the, Karen, give us a second to get a little ventilation going in here. You got it, there you go. Guys, if you want to crack that door back there too. Just push it open, there you go. Let me adjust the camera a little bit. There we go.
I want my best side.
We're trying.
Okay.
1 second. Just. There we go. Okay, Karen, are you ready?
I'm ready.
And go. So Karen, question number 1, why are you running for mayor? And what inspired you to run for mayor?
Okay, I'm going to go back 6 years because 6 years ago I ran for council. And I've been on council for 6 years. And I felt it was the right time of my life for me that I could devote the time necessary to be on council. And after mastering or trying to master what a city councilman does, then I felt I was ready for the next step of being mayor. I know the inner workings of council. I know the inner workings of the city. And I'm very familiar with Trinidad. So it's the right time for me to be mayor. And also, we're losing a mayor that's been here for 8 years. And I think this is a great transition spot for me. We have a new city manager, a well-qualified city manager, I believe. And I think we need to let him use his education to the best of his ability. I'm there to help him.
Okay. You may have kind of answered this. Question number 2, what makes you feel you're the best candidate for mayor? And what is your most valuable experience you're bringing to the table? How will this experience benefit the city?
Well, I've got, really, one good thing about living a long life, I'm 74 years old, you experience a lot, and you gain a lot of experience through those 74 years. I've been a business person along with my husband Ed, and now with my daughter Kathleen. We've run a very successful business for 48 years in downtown Trinidad. I've been on almost every board or commission within the city of Trinidad, the chamber. I've been on the tourism board. And our mantra of our family is to give back to the community that has sustained us for so many years. But in addition to that, on a professional level, I was nominated or appointed to 2 state boards. Governor Romer appointed me to the Small Business Commission for the state of Colorado. And also I was appointed to the Judicial Nominating Committee by Governor Owens. So I have state experience with small business and government. And professionally, I've accumulated a lot of professional awards within my designated profession of a professional insurance agent.
Okay, question number 3, how you balance the needs of all the constituents, including long-time residents, transplants, working class adults, families, ranchers, farmers, youth, and etc.?
Well, that question is kind of deceiving because I think we're all transplants. If you're not a Native American, we're all transplants. It's just, how long have you been in this community? My mantra or my campaign slogan is one community, one voice, working together forward. And that's what all of the people or all of those classes that you mentioned, we're one community. And that's what I want to focus on. Unfortunately, the farmers and ranchers, we can't do much except for a few of our resources to share with them. But when you come to downtown Trinidad, I want clean streets, I want well-maintained streets, I want businesses that are profitable and able to provide goods and services for the community.
Question number 4, how will you deal with inter-council conflicts, council-citizen conflicts? How does conflict resolution look to you?
It doesn't look like resolution, it looks more like mediation. So I've had council conflicts before. I've had business conflicts before. Some of the nonprofit boards that I work with, there's conflicts there, difference of opinion. But you have to understand if you're on a board like this, you have to make adjustments. It's not always going to be your way. You sit, you talk, you decide, you've got a good point, I've got a good point. Let's come to a common understanding that will benefit the community.
What does government transparency mean to you?
Government transparency is everything. I think the city does a great job for transparency. We have 4 meetings, if not more than that, a month. All of our meetings are open to the public. You can come down to Brago Insurance and ask me a question anytime you want. And if I can answer it, I absolutely will. But what people don't understand, that the city is a business, okay? I can't talk to you about personnel. I can't talk to you about contracts. There's some things that for the good of the community and the individuals involved have to be kept confidential. And that's why it's so important to elect people that have integrity and are honest and have a good moral compass.
Question number 6, Karen, what are your top 3 project priorities? Capital improvements, programming, adjusting things at City Hall, etc.
Well, capital improvement is definitely on the top of the list because we have to, on council, I believe you have to balance what quality of life for all of our residents and for what's good for the city. I mean, quality of life has to be the thing that we have to work toward every day. What City Council has been working on is outdoor recreation. You know, and I'm getting off the subject, but there's a point that I'm going to make. So I've been here when the coal mines went down, when natural gas kind of wavered, and it wasn't the prime employer for the community. But what really strikes me that's wonderful about Trinidad is the resilience of this small community. It's amazing to me. And I've heard over and over again, because we were in a tourism-related business at one time, and everybody used to say, oh, well, yeah, we go to Trinidad to stop to go to the bathroom on our way to Santa Fe. We stop in Trinidad to go to the bathroom to go to Denver. So there was nothing that was exceptional about Trinidad that would make people get off that interstate and come downtown and see what a beautiful downtown area we have. Well, I think we have hit our gold mine with outdoor recreation. Fisher's Peak, the city just about a month and a half ago, I exchanged land with somebody that has land adjacent, right up close to Trinidad Lake State Park. We'll be able to develop that into a recreation area and hopefully bring a tourist-related industry into Trinidad.
Okay, question number 7. How do you see City Council helping to secure proper funding for the city to address its infrastructure needs, programming needs, special projects needs, etc.?
Well, this is kind of for somebody that's been on council, it's kind of an unusual question because grant funding is done solely by staff, okay? So I know there's been rumors out there that we are not, we applied for a grant, but we weren't accepting it. But you got to understand 90%, if not greater, these grants that are applied for sometimes need matching grants or in-kind services from our staff, who our staff is really, we have a lot of projects going on for what the staff does, trying to organize. So you have to pick and choose your grants. What grant are we going to get the best bang for our bucks for? So the staff is wonderful. We've been getting a lot of grants. So we just have to make sure, number one, is it a matching grant, and do we have the money to pay for that match on the grants? And is it something that will benefit the community? If we're going to spend more money to administer the grant than what the grant actually gives us, then we're defeating our purpose. So it's a team effort. So what it is, staff goes out and gets grants, and then the city council decides whether we should proceed.
So as a moderator, I'm going to skip over number 8 because you kind of answered that, but with 2 minutes left, question number 9 and 10. Question number 9 is, what is your overall vision for Trinidad for the next 4 years? And 10, what projects accomplishment of this current council do you see as the biggest benefits to the city's development?
Okay, overall vision, I think I've touched on that already. It's outdoor recreation. We have the Rat Fest coming in here in 2 weeks. That's going to bring at least 800 just riders into Trinidad. You multiply that by 2, and that's how many people. There's going to be thousands of people for one event. We need to do more of that. And I think we have a great outdoor rec person that's going to do that. What I can say real quick is my biggest accomplishment, and council I think will agree, is that we took the initiative to start the first steps on Fisher's Peak, buying Fisher's Peak, working with the owners of Fisher's Peak to get it a state park, and look what benefits we've had over the past 2 years. Thank you.
45 seconds.
Thank you. Just remember, if you're on council, you're a business person. You are managing the business of the city. The only difference from you being a private business person to me being on council is we have to make sure there's money, but we don't have to make a profit. We're here to spend money wisely. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Let's take your time, Adam. I've been putting up a sponsorship thing here, so. We are sponsored today by the Chronicle-News, Muller Murphy Funeral, Trinidad Times TV, Hot Yoga on Main, and Phil Toyota. Okay, Carlos, tell me when and I will hit the timer. When?
When?
All right, here we go.
Thank you.
Wait, no, it didn't start. Wait a second. Come on. There we go. Carlos, question number one. Why are you running for mayor and what inspired you to run for mayor?
Well, thank you for the time. I appreciate you hosting this. I want to thank all the other candidates who actually showed up for this as well. It demonstrates your commitment to the city of Trinidad. For me, why I'm running and what inspired me. So one of the things that my mom always told me a story was when I was little is I'd always say, you know, one of these days I want to run for the mayor of Trinidad. Growing up here, that was something that I started speaking about when I was around 5 or 6 years old, I was told. And I think that also left an impression in my mind because you start to manifest things as you become an adult in life. And this is one of the things that I always thought would be imperative for Trinidad going forward. I think that young, fresh blood in our community, as well as with the older kind of experienced knowledge, can tether some great results. And I feel that with me at the helm, with others beside us, we can make some great accomplishments for Trinidad, for our kids, for the future, to make sure that we have economic development that's healthy, that we make sure that we have industry that's going to be poignant in creating good jobs. I think that we also need to look forward to other relationships that we have at the state and national level. So for me, the reason I'm running for Trinidad, I'm an invested business owner here now. I've been working for my family's businesses for the past 10 years, and now my wife and I have struck it out on our own. And we want to make sure that others like us can have the same opportunity and make sure that they have support networks that are going to make sure that they are going to be successful with the tools and resources that they need in order for their families to thrive, not just survive.
What makes you feel you're the best candidate for mayor? And what is your most valuable experience you're bringing to the table? How will this experience benefit the city?
Well, first of all, I think that my experience of being on city council before states its own record. We were part of that council that brought on the new state park, and that was over 6 years ago. Over 4 years ago. So I was very proud of that accomplishment. Another thing that I'm proud of, I'm the founder of the Youth Club of Trinidad. Growing up here, I knew we didn't really have a lot of after-school programming here. So that was one of my platform points 6 years ago when I ran for council. And I have accomplished that with the support of others that felt that that was a valuable asset that the city needed. I've also been a Senate candidate for the state of Colorado. With that loss, it opens so many opportunities still to network with other people throughout the state. I've been able to meet people on the national campaign platform because we were campaigning on the same trail. So therefore, I have connections to help out with other types of resources that will help Trinidad here in our community, making sure that we get the things we need for our future, for our children, for our retirees, for everybody. I think that's about it for that.
How will you balance the needs of all the constituents, including longtime residents, transplants, working class adults, families, ranchers, farmers, youth, and etc.?
Well, that's a great question. I'm kind of in the middle spot. My parents were those transplants that moved here in the 70s. And they felt that they were treated differently back then, being that they were, quote, Johnny-come-latelys. They weren't always recognized as long-term residents because people didn't always invite them to the Sunday dinners. They weren't invited to go to these activities frequently. And it took my mom and dad a generation of working and committing to this community to finally be, welcomed as one of the city's own. So I was raised here. I grew up with my peers who had generational families from here. So I kind of fit this interesting mold. I see both sides of the coin, from being a resident my whole life to someone whose parents weren't from here. And I find that with that kind of exposure and experience, I can be that bridge between the people that are coming here, investing, bringing their families, starting businesses, and also those who have been here for the longest time. Grandma Ray was the family that brought my parents in. They embraced my mom and dad. I remember going to Colorado Avenue for Sunday dinners, and that was special. And as a result of that, some of their grandchildren are now some of my best friends. So I feel that with those type of experiences, I know what it feels like for those people who are not from here and those who have been here their whole lives.
Question number 4, how will you deal with inter-council conflicts, council citizen conflicts? What does conflict resolution look like to you?
I think professionalism is the key word. We need to start acting like professionals. We need to start treating others as professionals. And we need to start making sure that we treat everyone equally according to whatever parameters there are, whether it's municipal code, the city charter, or just common sense and common courtesy. I think with that ability, we can start to make sure that we get the quality results out of our peers as well as subordinates that we have, whether they're on city staff or if they're just other community members. Now, of course, these peers are going to be our biggest input. The ones that we hear information from, like, hey, I'm having problems with these kinds of codes. They maybe are not reflective of the times. Or maybe my kids are having a hard time at school because we're just having challenges with getting enough proper teachers. I think that when we start to look at everyone in a professional capacity and demanding that we have professionals giving us these kinds of services and products, then we're going to start to be better.
What does government transparency mean to you?
Well, first of all, we just got to start telling the truth. I think that when it comes down to transparency, you shouldn't have to pull teeth in order to get information. These are things that should be dealt with in a proper and civil manner. And if people are not being able to give these bits of information, that demonstrates there's something going on. And I think a lot of people in this room have found that trying to find information, as to Mr. Thomasina's point, those core requests shouldn't have to go that far. It should be just given over, regardless of whether you attend the meetings or not. A lot of folks aren't able to, so then, the Times TV 71 channel is a great beacon for people to actually see these things, because not everyone has the time to make it to city council meeting on a 1 o'clock on a Monday, or even a 6 o'clock on a Tuesday. It's tough. They have families. They have to cook dinner. They have work. They have other needs. So I think with transparency, we have to be able to be accountable. I applaud Ms. Griego for when she says, come to my office. That's a true statement. We get people coming to our store too. And the key thing with that is not always what we say back, but it's how we listen to people. When we find out what their real needs are. That was one of the things I learned campaigning for state senate. It's not so much what we say, it's about what everyone else has to say. And being a great ear is a good thing to be.
What are your 3 top project priorities, capital improvements, programming, adjusting things at City Hall, etc.?
Okay, one of which, I got more than 3, but I'll give you some. I want to reinvigorate our Trinidad downtown with buildings and shops and eateries and other things like that. I would like to see Trinidad become a true destination for people to come here for our great historic preservation and buildings, and also being proud of our local mom and pop shops that are here. I think that's going to be one way that we can start moving forward quickly. We've lost a lot of things recently too. We haven't had so many events downtown because people have either retired or we have not nurtured these events. So I would really like to make sure that we have more monthly events downtown and seasonal events for the non-tourist seasons to help our downtown businesses that struggle in the months of January and February. I'd like to also work with our local hospital to make sure that we find ways to provide more care options here so people don't have to travel out of town to have simple, basic services provided. Of course, we also got to have more youth programs for our kids, for after-school sports. I think that was something that I loved growing up here with, whether it's Pee Wee football, a summer-long baseball program, volleyball, other sports as well. I think those are things that need to be gone after. And lastly, we need to go after some federal, monies, the grant monies. I know that there are some, of course, that do have to have matching, but there's a lot that don't. And I think in order for us to make sure that we are going after proper grants that we can accomplish with tangible results, something that we can see and touch and feel, is the true act of a good leader.
Okay, with 3.5 minutes left, I'm going to skip over 7 because I think you've answered it. What do you see as the future of Trinidad's economy, and what steps would you take to move the city towards that goal during your first 2 years as mayor?
Well, we have to have a blended economy. We can't just be a one-trick pony town. We've seen that in the past. Whether it's the mines, natural gas, marijuana, we can't just be a one-trick pony town. So, with that being said, I would like to start actively supporting and looking for other industrial complexes to come to the city of Trinidad. I would also like to make sure that our tourism and outdoor rec department that we have is substantial, robust, and healthy. So that way we can actually bring people here to stay here in our community, stay in our hotels, which also helps as a revenue generating source for our community, for our coffers. And also when they stay here, they're going to go and eat and shop, and that's going to provide more money from sales tax revenue, which helps provide more opportunities so we can have all of our jobs that are necessary at City Hall filled by individuals so they're not double teamed with 2 or 3 kinds of job roles or hats that they have to wear. I also think that we have to support the industries that have supported us. We have really turned a blind eye to our marijuana industry, and we need to be supportive of them. They have helped us with a lot of financial needs to help our infrastructure, things that are the unsexy kind of fixes that have been dealt with. They've helped buy vehicles, fleets of cars. They help with the youth club getting, its foundational monies. We need to make sure we support those industries too. And that's it. Thanks.
Two more questions with 2 minutes left. What is your overall vision for Trinidad for the next 2 years? And what projects, accomplishments of this current council do you see as the biggest benefits to the city's development? And then after that, it's your time.
Sure. I think overall vision for the city, we need to really take an honest look at what's going on at a financial perspective. We have a lot of expenditures that are going out, but we don't have a whole lot of things to speak to them as to what's going on. Everyone always asks, where's the marijuana money? Where'd it go? And we try to show them a tabulation of what things were spent on, but there's a lot of other things that are lost in the details. I feel that we might need to start taking some hard chops at things in order to make sure that we can have sustainability from these economic standpoints. I try to think of myself as a conservative when it comes to fiscal means. We need to make sure that we're not overspending, we're not being wasteful. I think sometimes for all the brand new vehicles we have, maybe we could just fix the ones that we currently have so we could maybe provide another position for somebody. $60,000 goes a long way in 1 year. I know that we need to keep up with things, but I think we can work on what we do have and making sure that it's well maintained. In terms of what projects or accomplishments the current city council, their biggest benefit, that's a good question. The only thing I can think of right now is the progress of the outsourced company that's taking care of First Street remodeling. That's it. A friend of mine the other day asked me, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And this was pertaining to a national topic where we vary on ideas. But it made me think about what's actually happening here in Trinidad. And I think we've taken some steps back. We've lost a mine. That was a big industry. We've lost 2 big downtown drawing events that's going to hurt businesses like my own. We've lost several city staff members that are highly qualified. And yet, we're still always saying, well, we have great staff, but yet we're understaffed. I don't know. It sounds like a big conflict. So anyway, I thank you for your time. Please vote for Carlos Lopez. I'm looking out for your kids, your future. I'm focused on the future while preserving the past. Thank you so much.
Dan, give me a second here. I'm struggling with my tripod here. Okay.
I know you're just trying to be nice and you have to put it in wide angle.
Not true, Dan, not true. Give me a second to get everything ready for you. So, okay, you say when and I'll start the timer.
When?
You're good. So question number 1, Dan, why are you running for mayor and what inspired you to run for mayor?
What inspired me is, as you all know, you might not know, I was an employee for the city for 28 years. If I could have ran then, I would have ran. And I just think I know a lot that could be done with the city, working for him that long, that I could do some good for the people of Trinidad.
Okay. Question number 2, what makes you feel you're the best candidate for mayor? And what is your most valuable experience you're bringing to the table? How will this experience benefit the city?
There again, I'm 63 years old, born and raised in, well, I came from Socrates until they made us move when they built the reservoir. But been in Trinidad, I've worked in the coal mines, I worked in the gas field, I worked in the city for 28 years, so I've kind of been around. I've been on the roller coaster. I didn't smoke marijuana or have a marijuana store, but I did have the first license in Trinidad. And I own my own business for 13 years of a trash company. I just think I know, I've been on the roller coaster, it's either feast or famine. And I'm tired of that. I really think we need an industry in this town, not the mine that employs 600 people, but small businesses employ 20, 30 people, get about 20 of them. If one goes down, we only lose a few people instead of everyone.
3, how will you balance the needs of all constituents, including longtime residents, transplants, working class adults, families, ranchers, farmers, youth, and et cetera?
Actually, first of all, the word transplant, I think I call them newcomers. Transplants means you're putting something from somebody else somewhere into someone else. These people are just people moving, looking for someplace to move. And 99% of them say this town is so beautiful. I stopped here once, I loved it so much, that's why I moved here. And people ought to realize what we have around us. And it's hard to believe, but our number one asset of Trinidad is our drinking water. How many places can you go to the faucet, turn it on, put it in a glass and drink it? Not too many, but Trinidad's one of them. And I just think we got to get off that roller coaster and find something that's going to benefit Trinidad.
Okay. Question number 4, how will you deal with inter-council conflicts, council citizen conflicts, and what does conflict resolution look like to you?
One of my 3 agendas of this campaign is transparency. And I think with transparency, you could handle a lot of that. If people just be honest with each other, tell the truth, because everyone knows the truth always comes out in the end, and who looks bad? The person that wasn't telling the truth. As far as conflict, you got to be professional, and as a government person, you have to listen to them. It doesn't matter what they're calling you, what they're doing to you, you look at them and be nice to them. And when they ask you a question, please give them an answer promptly. Don't let them stew for 3-4 weeks.
See, you kind of answered this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Maybe you might want to restate this, but what does government transparency mean to you?
Exactly what I just said. Giving people answers. When people ask you something, go out, look for the answer, get back to them and let them know. Just that, I think the biggest problem, I went to the last council meeting, situation going on with the store downtown. Something happened, people don't know who did it, why they did it, and what's going on. And I believe they still don't have an answer, and that's not right.
Okay. Question number 6, what are your top 3 project priorities as far as capital improvements, programming, adjusting things at City Hall, et cetera?
Adjusting things at City Hall, I don't believe nothing needs to be adjusted there. It might need to be tweaked a little. My big complaint is I was out on the street. I know what goes on the streets. Most people don't know, in our parks and boulevards, we have 6 people that take care of everything. That's not enough. There's 6 people that take care of our streets. That's not enough. When I started 28 years ago, there was 18 people just in the street department, and now there's 6. There's actually more people at City Hall than there are on the street. So if you want to see progress, maintenance is the number one thing. That's my priority. You gotta, if you build something, you gotta maintain it. Trinidad's known to build something, looks beautiful. 25 years later, no maintenance has been done. People probably been seeing about the skateboard. Nothing's been done to that skate park in 25 years. My big deal, and I might get on some people here, but the trees downtown on Main Street, if you look, they're pushing up the sidewalk. When that project was done, those trees were supposed to be transplanted every 5 years. It's been 35, 40 years, they've never been transplanted. What did they do? Blew up the sidewalk, and my biggest pet peeve is what they're doing is hiding the architecture of our town. Look at the first block on Commercial Street between intersection of Main and Commercial. Look down. You could see the buildings. And you people might not notice, watch people with cameras going up and down Trinidad streets taking pictures of the buildings. I bet there's more there than there are people walking the trails.
Question number 7. How do you see City Council helping to secure proper funding for the city to address its infrastructure needs, programming needs, and special project needs, etc.?
That's a tough one because everyone knows to get funding for the city, you gotta have raised taxes. People in Trinidad don't like taxes being raised. I mean, A lot of people are on fixed incomes. It's very tough. Grants, like everyone said, they're great. Most of them are matching funds. I think what we got to do is use our money that we have the right way. We've made a lot of money with marijuana. I think the city has splurged and just used it in improper ways and stuff not to really help the city of Trinidad.
Okay, question number 8. What do you see as the future of Trinidad's economy, and what steps would you take to move the city towards that goal during your first 2 years as mayor?
My biggest deal is, again, bringing businesses in. How do you bring businesses in? I'll go out there and try to find a way to bring in business. Everyone's been to Pueblo. You see these factories on the south end of town getting set up all the time. Why is that? It's been probably 20 years ago. I was an outfitter. I took Budweiser guys that bought Mitchell Isa out elk hunting. The guy wanted that Pueblo plant in Trinidad. He went to the city and asked for a section at an industrial park. And by the railroad tracks, that's all he asked for. Give him that property, that plant would have been in Trinidad. Guess what? The city told him take a hike. It's now in Pueblo. And I don't know if any of you know where the industrial park is. Again, I was working 28 years ago when that was built. That's the last time any maintenance has been done out there. They call it the Rattlesnake Industrial Park. It's terrible. You got to improve that to have businesses.
Last 2 questions with 3.5 minutes left. What is your overall vision for Trinidad for the next 2 years, and what projects, accomplishments of this current council do you see as being the biggest benefits to the city's development?
Again, improvements in Trinidad, I'm looking at in infrastructure or roads. The last time we paved a road in Trinidad was 2013. And I was in charge of the streets. I was the foreman. And all I've been told the last 13 years, you know how much it's going to cost to pave a street? And my answer to them is it going to get any cheaper? What we got to do is find smaller projects, show the people we're trying, but don't do nothing at all. That's what gets people upset. As far as our previous council, I got to get along with Mr. Lopez. The thing I've seen in the last 4 years is First Street. It's been torn up 4 years. Why is that? Why do you go in 1 year, put in a water line, go in the next year, put in the gas line, then design the street? Why don't you design the street, go in there and do everything in one shot? That project could have probably been done in 2 years. And transparency is my big deal. You've got to know where the money is and where it's going. So, thank you.
Dan, you have 2 minutes and 10 seconds left. It's your time.
That's a long time. Again, like I said, I've been on the ups and downs of Trinidad. My wife and I have been through a lot. We got ill. We came out of it. We're both alive. So I'm taking that to the limit. I have no boundaries. I have nothing to lose. We got rid of our business now, our trash company. So I'm just looking straight ahead. I'm not looking back. I'm not afraid to talk to anybody, and I'm not afraid to tell them what I think. Again, as mayor of Trinidad, I know some people think the mayor is this great deal. What it is you're the elite councilman. All you are is a councilman. You're one voice, one vote. You're the same as the other 6 people on the side of you. And if you don't have them behind you, I learned this at the school district. I'd vote, the vote would be 3-2, and I'd lose every time. You got to have your people behind you and all on the same page to get someplace. And I think that's what we're looking forward to.
54 seconds if you want it.
Another minute. Let's go with the tourism of Trinidad. Tourism is great, but I think that's one step of several processes to make Trinidad go. Tourism does help the economy. It helps gas stations, restaurants, motels. But if you go hiking up on Fisher's Peak, what do you do when you're done hiking? You gotta have something downtown in Trinidad for them to do. My son's from Wichita, Kansas. We went to Springs to Garden of the Gods on a Sunday. Of course, the younger kids gotta have their $7 a cup coffee, so we stopped at First National Bank to get their coffee. Well, I sat in the car and I watched 3 different families walking up and down Main Street. The only place they could go was the coffee shop because no place was open. You gotta have something for people to do when they're done with their recreation. And I think that's a big part of our economy.
And that is your time, Dan.
No, I want to. Thank you. I just hope you all, whether I win or lose, I'm going to be a voice in Trinidad. So just remember that. I'll be there for anybody that needs me. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. What I'd like to do is just take a few minutes to shut off our equipment. Cy and her assistant got us some refreshments. Let me regroup for a second. And so there's some water and some donuts and some cookies. So before we get started with the council, because that's going to go for a little while. So let's take a short break and we'll see you back here in 10 minutes. 10-minute break, and then you'll each get 12 minutes.